To hit a kick serve that really truly kicks and gets up outside of our opponent's strike zone, it's critical that we create a huge amount of racket head speed that moves in the right direction. And in order to do that, our body has to be aligned in the right place in order to throw the racket past the back of the ball. Now, I'm going to show you some pro examples and a real world amateur example in just a minute, a remote student that I'm working with right now. First, I want you to look at this professional baseball player, and we're going to take a look at right when the arm and shoulder hit maximum stretch, right here. This would be the equivalent of the racket drop on a serve with the arm and shoulder stretched back. If you just imagine a racket in his hand right here with the racket head down here, you can imagine, kind of similar position on a high level serve. And so what's happened here is the body has rotated forwards, starting from a sideways position, and then the arm and the hand is relaxed enough and soft enough to stretch backwards. And then he's going to release that stretch. And in baseball, we're obviously throwing the ball towards home plate. So when he releases the ball, his chest and his torso, his hips, everything is facing forwards, so that all that stored energy can be released directly towards home plate. Now, when we're using a racket and we're striking an object with another object, the dynamics are a little bit different when we're trying to spin the ball. And I want you to imagine this alignment of the body, basically like the rudder of a ship. Whatever direction our torso is facing at the moment of impact is the direction that our arm is going to want to travel in. That's the biomechanically strongest, most stable, most healthy position for the shoulder to release that stretch and send the energy from our body out through towards the ball using the racket. Now, in the case of this pitcher, we're holding the object that we want to transfer energy into, and we're releasing it directly. But in tennis, things are a little bit more complicated because we are striking an object with another object. We're not throwing the racket. If we were throwing the racket, we would want our body to be facing our target. But because we're not, because we're essentially throwing the racket past the ball, what happens on a kick serve from a professional player is as we hit that peak stretch position, just like the baseball pitcher, here's the racket drop. What direction are John Isner's chest and belly button and hips facing? 90 degrees to the target. This is the thing that gets tennis players really tripped up, is we know intuitively that we want the ball to go over here towards the box, but in order to make the ball spin substantially, we need to, in air quotes here, and here I'll put it back to me, we need to throw the racket past the ball in a direction other than our target. And this is so counterintuitive for good reason, because we're used to this, subconsciously, we're used to this dynamic movement of the body and delivering energy towards where we want that energy to go. But on a spin serve, we're no longer throwing the racket towards the box. We're throwing the racket at close to a 90-degree angle off to the side, and that's what creates the spin, is the energy of the racket strings going past the ball in a different direction. So at the point of biggest stretch here, everything is facing sideways, and then as contact is made right here, there's been a little bit of additional unwinding with the shoulders and the hips. John here is no longer straight sideways, but he's also clearly not facing the box. He's more sideways than he is facing forwards, and that's so that he can get the racket's acceleration going out to the side in a strong and also stable position so that there's not undue stress on the shoulder. So let's keep going. Let me show you a couple examples. So here's Roger hitting a kick serve. Here's the point of biggest stretch right here. Look at how his hips, his torso, his chest are all facing out to the side. And now as he hits the ball, he's still sideways. His hips, his torso, his chest are facing out to the side because he's throwing the racket this direction. You see how the racket is heading out to the side? This is what makes the spin. It's the racket being thrown past the ball, away from the target. That's what makes the ball rotate and spin. Okay, here's Raonic. Here's the biggest stretch position right here. Look at how he's sideways. And now here's contact. Look at how he's still sideways. Hips, torso, chest, still sideways because he's throwing the racket in this direction. By the way, what makes the ball go in the he's throwing the racket sideways. So why in the world would the ball go in the service box? Well, it's because the strings are facing towards the box. Remember the magic, if you've been following me for a while, this is really truly like the most important thing that comes out of my mouth. If you want to understand the dynamics of the body, the racket, what happens to the ball, the face sends it, the path bends it. The racket face at contact is what sends the ball in whatever direction it's going to go. The path of the racket, aka we're throwing the racket out to the right, that's what bends the ball or curves it. That's what puts spin on the ball to make it curve and bend. Okay, I think I got one more here. Here's Novak. Here's the point of biggest stretch right here, facing sideways. By the way, oh my, it always makes me cringe a little bit. He's just so unbelievably this is a crazy position for the forearm to be in here at the racket drop. And then at contact right here, this is just before contact, he has turned forwards a little bit, but he's mostly sideways. Okay, now let me show you this student for contrast. That's the deuce side. Here we go. Just to keep everything the same, here's the ad side. Watch in full speed first. He's clearly a good athlete. He's got a good throwing motion. He's got good racket head speed. Watch it in full motion first, and it's going to look pretty solid. But watch the ball on the other side. Here, I'll zoom in here. There's not a lot of action. Like, it doesn't bounce up a lot. And it also doesn't really, like a kick serve, the hallmarks are, yes, it bounces up higher, but it also bounces out to the right. And this serve really isn't doing that. It's just kind of moving in a straight line, and it never really gets up off the court very far. Let's go back and look at his biggest stretch position. Looks really good. I mean, this is right in line with a lot of the professional players we just looked at. Like I said, great athlete. But now watch what happens as he approaches contact. Watch his hips. I'm going to go back and forth a couple of times. Watch his hips and watch his chest, how they keep unwinding. And so as he hits the ball, his hips have unwound to the point that they're facing the box, and his chest is facing the box. So we've got mixed signals here. His arm and his racket is going out to the side, but it's while his body is facing towards his target. And so this is significant for two reasons. They're both very important. Reason number one is if the body goes beyond the direction we're trying to throw the racket, we're not going to be able to deliver maximum energy and maximum force past the ball because we're over rotating. We're going past the direction that we actually want to send the racket. So by going past the direction we're trying to send the racket, number one, he's not going to get maximum acceleration. But number two, and for me, this is the biggest one as I work with students, I want to make sure that longevity is kind of baked in and there aren't any big significant friction points biomechanically that could lead to injury. And this is especially with somebody who's this good of an athlete that has this much acceleration, it's critical that we get the body and the direction that we're trying to accelerate the racket in unison so that we're not sending tons of stress through the shoulder by throwing the racket one direction while the body is facing another direction. Now we're starting to put stress and strain on a very delicate part of the body, the rotator cuff, the shoulder. I tore mine a couple years ago. It's not fun. And by the way, by not following these principles, so I know a little bit something about making this kind of mistake. So the bottom line here is we need the body and the racket's path to be in unison to get the best acceleration and also have the healthiest body long term. Think about the direction we're trying to throw the racket. And on a spin serve, like the kick serve, that's different than the direction we want the ball to go. which in my experience working is just like such a like head exploding thing for everyday tennis players. They're so badly trying to line everything up towards the box that either they can't make any spin at all, or it's not significant amount of spin, or they are really risking injury by crisscrossing the different directions of energy transfer. So hopefully all these examples here are a little bit helpful. This is how you can optimize your kick serve. And Frank, I mean, everything we talked about here you can use to optimize just about any shot in tennis. The face sends it, the path bends it. Your body is your rudder sending energy in X direction. Think through this stuff, and I hope it's a huge help for you. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.